Good afternoon YouTube, it's Steamboat Willie here again. And last week I did a video about my favourite trains, so it made sense to this week make a video about my favourite railways. Now, pre-nationalisation, this would be an easier conversation because everything is vertically integrated, so a company such as the Great Western or the LNER, or pre-grouping, say, the Caledonian Railway or the Great Eastern Railway, owns the physical infrastructure and the trains, and they also run everything. Post-privatisation, the railway has been fragmented, so all the routes are owned by Network Rail, and then you have franchised operators who run the trains in a geographical area for a limited period of time. And then you've got the freight operators who operate pretty much nationally, here, there and everywhere. So I'm going to break this up. First I'm going to talk about my favourite pre-nationalisation companies, which my favourite has to be the LNER. I may be a bit biased being a Yorkshireman, but I love the LNER. The trains especially, obviously you've got all the famous Gresley Pacifics and his other engines as well, but some of the pre-grouping routes and engines they adopted, especially from the Great Eastern Railway, were really beautiful. And of course the LNER as well as operating the East Coast Main Line from King's Cross to Waverley. They also had the Fort William to Malaga extension, which was inherited from the North British Railway, and the Wisbech and Upwell tramway, which of course was the inspiration for Toby the tram engine. That was originally part of the Great Eastern. And I think the LNER also took over the Great Central Railway, which was certainly in pre-grouping times had some quite impressive coaching stock in terms of the Barnum coaches. The LNER obviously brought out their own Gresley and later Thompson teak coaches, which are really quite nice. So LNER, love it. The apple green livery, just it's a bit of colour in a world of sort of black and white drabness. LNER probably top of the list, then Great Western LMS with Southern at the bottom. What's my favourite pre-grouping line would probably be the Glasgow and South Western Railway. Obviously being my local Ayrshire line, although I'm in Lanarkshire now. I've moved to Caledonian Railway territory, but still a big fan of the Glasgow and South Western Railway, as well as the Great Central, the Great Eastern, and the Wisbech and Upwell. Post-privatisation, we've got to talk about franchise train operating companies. My favourite, again, I was talking about my favourite route last week being the Caledonian Sleeper, and best favourite train operating company post-privatisation is the Caledonian Sleeper again.
That's alright, nice Sleeper coming in with see what line they got one.
When franchising started, it was originally a part of the ScotRail franchise. Strangely, being the only ScotRail, I was about to say the only ScotRail service outside of Scotland. Not entirely true, because there are some ScotRail services from down to Carlisle. So there are some ScotRail services that cross the border, but it went all the way to London. So very strange that it was lumped in with ScotRail to begin with. Why was it not given to Cross Country or Virgin West Coast? But eventually, a few years ago, it was sort of hived off into its own thing, and now it's operated by Serco, and they've put in a lot of money, bringing in new uniforms, new liveries, new coaching stock. There've been a lot of problems with the traction with the locomotives. They switched from using GB Schenker or EWS as was to GB Rail Freight, who are not really probably not the best choice in terms of locomotives, switching to Class 92s and 73s instead of the 67s and 90s they had before. Not really intended as passenger locos. The 73s are, I guess. The 92s certainly weren't, and they had a lot of teething troubles with the 92s. I think hadn't run for a while, and there were a lot of breakdowns. But I've not, again, as I said last week, I haven't travelled on the new Mark 5 coaches yet, but the comfort and service, the travelling experience, if you will, on the Mark 3 coaches was, with Mark 2 seater coaches, was brilliant. The levels of service were amazing. You were treated like royalty on there, and I kind of want to sample the Mark 5s, but I like the new livery, it looks good. I like the new uniforms. It's a sort of tweed kind of outfit, and the same midnight teal as the livery. It's a good package. Other favourites, honourable mention, got to go to Virgin West Coast, which is now Avanti, but Virgin brought in the Pendolinos. They made a lot of improvements. I mean, West Coast, I remember Virgin trains in the early days, in the early 2000s, and they were shocking. They were overcrowded. I've been on trains that were. There was one train I remember, 2 coaches were taken out of service due to vandal damage, so they were running West Coast Express train down 2 coaches, and everyone's sitting in the vestibules because there's no space. So they were pretty bad in the early days, but once the Pendolinos came in, they really improved the game. The food hasn't improved, although I liked their tilting ale they brought in. That was quite good. It was a very, very dry beer, but it was nice to have a sort of special beer to have on the train. That was quite a good touch. Freight TOCs. Now obviously I can't, as a passenger, travel on freight TOCs, but from a train spotter's perspective, it has to be direct rail services. They probably have one of the most varied fleets, with classes 20, 37, 68, 88. They've got 66s still as well, so they've got a good variety of traction, as opposed to DB Schenker pretty much wipes out all their older locomotives, just standardise on the class 66 for everything. DRS for the for the train spotters. DRS provide the most variety. The best drivers, I think, usually get a wee toot from them as they go past on the horn. DRS like them. Best route, best actual bit of railway. For me, it's got to be the Ayr to Stranraer line. I've had, obviously I used to work on the Stranraer ferry, and I was on that every week, and it's just a beautiful railway. Everyone bangs on about sort of Fort William to Mallaig and Inverness to Carlow Blackhouse, and the Stranraer line's pretty much overlooked. It was always built to serve the ferry port, and of course since 2011 the ferry is no longer at Stranraer, so the sort of ridership, the numbers have struggled. But there's a community rail partnership now out there trying to promote the line, but it's a beautiful line to travel on. Just the scenery is quite stunning. I think a lot of people overlook the southwest. They come to Scotland. The tourists that come to Scotland, they go straight to the Highlands, and the southern uplands just get overlooked. I think that's coming back. We've got some great railways and great scenery in the south of Scotland. There's the Stranraer line. There's also the Glasgow South Western Main Line from Glasgow to Carlisle via Kilmarnock and Dumfries. The Kilmarnock to Dumfries section of the line is exceptionally pretty. Now we've got the Borders Railway coming back in the eastern part of the country, so that's going down as far as Tweed Bank at the moment, I'm hoping, and lots of people are hoping that it will be extended all the way back to Carlisle, and then tourists will be able to ride right across the the southern uplands from Carlisle all the way up to Edinburgh, and it's a beautiful part of the country, and it's, definitely overlooked by tourists. So the railway coming back will hopefully bring visitors in, encourage people to come to the south of Scotland. Best preserved line. Now, preserved railways operate in the same way as the pre-grouping or pre-nationalisation railways did. It's generally, they own the track, they own the trains, and they operate the services, and it's a vertically integrated package. My favourite is the West Somerset Railway. I've been on it twice now, once in 1997 on a holiday when I was a teenager, and once a couple of years ago with my girlfriend for a cream tea special. And it is brilliant. It's the longest standard gauge preserved railway in the country. It's probably the most homogeneous as well, because most of the rolling stock is either Great Western Railway or Western Region BR. So it's more authentic than a lot of places you go and it's a hodgepodge of North York Moors, for instance, have a hodgepodge of locomotives from all over the country. They've got Southern Railway stuff there. Go to Yorkshire and you get a Southern Railway engine. You're like, huh? But unfortunately, there aren't enough LNER engines preserved. Which again, that goes back to Barry Scrapyard, which of course most of what ended up there came from the southwest, and there are very few sort of preserved LNER engines. So if you do go to the North York Moors, you could end up with a Bully Pacific or is it a Lord Nelson class? A schools class? I think they've got a schools class there. Or a BR standard. So, but you go West Somerset, it's all Great Western stuff, and it's authentic. It's like you're there back in the day, 50, 70, 80 years ago, and it's all Great Western. and of course it takes you from somewhere to somewhere. It's not just an out and back train ride. So, you know, it serves a function. You can get on at Minehead, or whichever end you start at, and go to get off at one of the intermediate stations and have it out there, and then get the train back. So you're not necessarily spending all day out the railway. Blue Anchor, that's the one I'm trying to think. There's Washford, Blue Anchor. I can't remember the name of the other stations. And it's all very seaside, very again Great Western. It feels very summer holiday. You know, trip to the seaside. Love it. The way the stations are being preserved is amazing. All the sort of floral displays as you would expect for a sort of seaside liner. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I know they've had a lot of. I'm not going to go into too much into the problems they've had recently with sort of finances and management arguments and all this, but from the paying customer's point of view, the West Somerset Railway is pretty much close to perfection. That's a standard gauge railway, but what's my favourite narrow gauge railway? Because there's a few of those in the country, and my favourite is the Festiniog. Again, it's still operating the same rolling stock that it was operating 100 years ago, or certainly locomotives that it was operating 100 years ago. It's a very authentic experience. It just has to be seen to be appreciated. North Wales is stunning. I mean, you can go take your pick out of North Wales railways, they're all beautiful. But the Festiniog just shows what can be done with narrow gauge. I've been on the Llanberis Lake Railway. That's basically an out and back train ride. You're not going anywhere, there's no catering on board. But it does have the advantage of having the Slate Museum next door. Other railways are available. You've got the Vale of Rheidol, the Welsh Woodland Llanfair, the Talith Inn. I've not been on any of those yet, so they might be able to change my mind, I don't know. But certainly, out of the ones I've been on, Festiniog is the best. Now, what we've discussed so far are all British lines. Gonna give an honorary mention as well. Honourable mention to the Isle of Man steam railway, because that's amazing as well. Especially the onboard bar car. Scenery not as good as the Festiniog. I just think the Festiniog engines are cute, especially, again, see my last video about that. All the Isle of Man railways are amazing, but my favourite international railway, so outside of the British Isles, my favourite railway I've ever been on is the White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad in Alaska. It is nothing short of stunning. Alaskan scenery, it blows anything British out of the water in terms of scenery. The trains are amazing, double-headed or triple-headed by Alco diesels. They have a couple of steam engines that come out for special occasions. The rolling stock, the coaches, it's all these sorts of things you'd see in a cowboy movie with the balconies on the ends. They're brilliant. The only downside is there's no catering on the train, which is a bit of a shame really. But apart from that, it is stunning. And you know, if you ever get the chance, go on it, because you will not be disappointed. The best way to do that is on a cruise, which is a lot of money. Gonna be honest, but if you end up on an Alaska cruise, go to the Bypass and Yukon Route Railroad. You will not be disappointed. It is fantastic. There are no other words for it. So that's it. My favourite railways. One more thing that I'm just going to put in this video instead of making another video about it. My favourite station, which is Weems Bay. Gorgeous, and again, Caledonian Railway, built as a combined railway station and ferry terminal to serve Rossi and the Isle of Bute. Beautiful, just the design of it is perfection. Fantastic. Look, just look how awesome that is. It's gorgeous. So that's it. Favorite railways and favorite station. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.